Okay, it is. Okay, people are telling me to get under the desk now. It appears to. Okay, it appears to be stopping. Okay, things have calmed down considerably now. Going to need a couple seconds to catch my breath. It's very unnerving. And okay, things have calmed down considerably. I don't know if you'd call that an aftershock. It may have been greater than the initial quake.
Ann, we're going to let you get your breath right now.
Thank you.
And take leave of Los Angeles for just a moment. Again, one of many aftershocks that have hit the Southern California region. Ann just describing this one as bad, if not worse than the original. Ann, are you all right?
Yes,
Ann?
I'm fine. Yes, I'm fine. It's just very unnerving.
I'm sure it is. And you just described that as, and you experienced the first one at 5 o'clock your time this morning. You said this one was as bad, if not worse.
It may be because I'm in a tall building. At home, I was 3 hours ago. I was at home on the ground floor. I don't know if this lasted as long. When you're going through something like this, you find you aren't thinking of things like how long it's lasting. I found this to be extremely powerful, very strong, if not as strong as the first one. It was darn close enough for me.
Well, Ann, we're hearing all morning about the fact that the buildings in Los Angeles and San Diego have been swaying back and forth. Give us an idea of what you've been going through. How high are you there?
We are only on the 3rd floor of this building. However, it is a high-rise building. I could feel the entire building swaying back and forth, and it seemed to be more of a jolting sensation. And there was a lot of activity here. I could hear people saying things like, "Oh my gosh," and words of that nature were circling through my head. It was just incredible to feel the desk start to appear to feel like it's going to slide out from under me. My feet were very unsteady. My legs are still, knees are still knocking. I don't want to experience that again.
I can understand. And thank you. Take a little rest, get a cup of coffee, and we'll talk to you a little bit later. We will continue with our special live coverage right after this.
3 hours ago, it registered 7.4 on the open-ended Richter scale. Then, just moments ago, as CNN correspondent Ralph Wenge was talking with Ann McDermott, our reporter in Los Angeles, apparently another major quake struck the Los Angeles area. This is what it was like on the air as correspondent McDermott reacted to what she was feeling.
In or out because the roadways are so bad. There were like craters have opened up in some of the roadways. You may, I don't know, you might have seen me jump right now. We are having a very strong aftershock right now as I speak. I don't know if you can see the movement on your television cameras. The lights are swaying. That was quite a jolt. It is continuing. Very strong now. Very strong. This is worse, in my opinion, worse than the initial quake we had 3 hours ago. Okay, it is, okay, people are telling me to get under the desk now. It appears to be stopping. Okay, things have calmed down considerably now. Going to need a couple seconds to catch my breath. It's very unnerving.
Ann McDermott is okay. So is, as far as we know, everyone else in the building in which she was reporting in Los Angeles. We don't know yet whether this is categorized as a second major earthquake. Reuters news service is reporting it was. Correspondent McDermott also felt it was stronger than the first one, or whether it's an aftershock, more technically speaking. Correspondent Ann McDermott, once again, was a victim of the latest quake or very strong aftershock. We showed you video of that just moments ago. Ann rejoins us from our bureau in Los Angeles now. Ann, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling much better, thank you.
And can you go back and recount for us? I know it's just moments ago, but the thoughts that were going through your mind and what you were feeling. Were you feeling trembling or swaying? How would you describe it?
the room started to sway and then shake. It felt sharper than the initial quake. Again, to me, here, I'm on a third-story building. Excuse me, we're in a 15-story building, but we were on the third floor. It felt stronger than the initial quake of about 3 hours ago. However, I realize it's going to feel different in a high-rise building than it is on the ground, which is where I was when the initial quake came through. However, it was a very long aftershock, if indeed that's what it was. It was very powerful. I think everybody here in this room agrees with me on that. It was extremely powerful. It was extremely unnerving. The room really shook, and your basic instinct was to get up and get out.
Did anything move in the room, Ann?
Some of the lights overhead that you can't see started clanking together. The whole building sounded like it was creaking and cracking, although I doubt there's any damage sustained. But no damage. Everything in our offices is pretty well tied down. I'm hearing creaking in the building right now. I do not know if that's an aftershock or what. No, if it was an aftershock, it was extremely minor, but you get sensitive to these things. But things in general seem to be in their place, and, you know, it's over for now.
Thank you, Ann McDermott. More from Ann shortly. Reuters reporting now that Caltech is reporting the quake may have registered as much as 7 or 7.0 on the Richter scale.
Office in Los Angeles and can tell us more. Ron?
Good morning, Charles. They're now listing this as a 7.4 earthquake, which means it's the largest quake in California in the last 40 years. But the reports that we're hearing from the desert communities near the epicenter don't suggest that. We're hearing reports of minor damage and so far no injuries from local hospitals to report. The epicenter is about 20 miles from Palm Springs, but there are other smaller communities like Joshua Tree and Yucca Valley where we're hearing reports of roads closed, rock slides, some cracks in the roadways, things of that nature, but not the major damage that you might think is normally associated with a 7.4 event.
Boy, so, it would have been terrible if it had been centered in Los Angeles or San Diego or someplace, wouldn't it?
Indeed, Charles, and with an earthquake, that's probably the most important thing is where it hits, and this one hit out in the desert where there are not a lot of people living and not a lot of tall buildings, a very low, flat community. It's very similar, and seismologists are saying now it was also related to earthquakes that were in the 6.1 magnitude that hit out in the desert in late April as well.
I heard they felt it in Phoenix, Arizona. Man.
Some 300 miles away, indeed. Earthquakes are an amazing thing, and until you've felt one, it's really hard to describe the shock and the fear that just overcomes you. But again,
it woke you up, I suppose.
It woke me up 9 stories up, yes, and I live about, well, near the coast, 100 miles from the epicenter of the earthquake. And as you said, they felt it in Phoenix, some 300 miles away. There were power outages in Los Angeles, 25,000 people without power this morning, 100 miles from the quake. It's really quite something, but again, there are no major injuries and no major damage to report, despite the fact that this is the largest quake here in 40 years.
Ron Allen reporting to us on, I guess, what we can call a lucky big earthquake in the Los Angeles area this morning. Thank you, Ron.